9 صباحا ومباشرة عبر WNZK Radio 690 AM. صباح الخير بلدي، صباح الخير لكل مستمعينا.
Welcome to Radio Baladi, the first Arab, Middle Eastern, and American simulcast radio show. Radio Baladi is broadcast every Friday morning on WNZK 690 AM from 8 until 9 Eastern Time on Good Morning Michigan. Our call-in number 248-557-3300. And now, stay tuned for the best radio talk show on Arab and American issues.
And good morning, everybody. Do we have an ad mic? Sorry. No, we're live. Okay, there we go. This is Ray Hanania. It is Radio Baladi, Friday, November 1st, 2022. And I am Ray Hanania as the guest host this morning. How did the midterm November 8 elections turn out for Arab American and Muslim Americans running for office? And we're going to look and analyze that, the overall election results too, nationwide, see what happened to Republicans and Democrats. My guests are going to be our pollster and consultant, Dennis Denno, who added a new hat to his resume just Tuesday, trustee to the University of Michigan. Which one is it?
Come on, Michigan State University.
What do I know? They're all the same to me. Hang on here. Let's get that right. Michigan State University. Yeah, that's statewide. That's amazing, Dennis. Congratulations. And I think, I'm not sure, but you may be only the third Arab American that has ever won statewide, right?
I think I'm the fourth. I could count. I counted three before me.
Well, if one of those three before you doesn't complain, we're going to just count you as the first, and then we'll just start adding them when they start adding in. Ali Younes, a reporter with Arab News, freelancer who works with me, he's going to join us in a few minutes. He's just getting ready, so we'll have him on. So between the three of us, we're going to look at all the different elections that took place. You can watch this. We're streaming live on the US Arab Radio Network at facebook.com. /US Arab Radio. And I hope you check out all my columns and links at hanania.com. Dennis, Michigan State University trustee, congratulations. That's big.
Yeah, thank you. Technically, I'm a trustee elect. I think I get sworn in January 1st, but no, it is huge. It's exciting. It's humbling. I'm really honored. It means a lot of work to do, it's a statewide position, like you said. So it'll be exciting. It'll be an exciting 8-year term.
Wow. How long is the term?
These education positions are 8-year terms.
Wow. I don't know of any office that's longer. Is there one?
U.S. Senate 6 years. I can't think of anything I can't think of another 8-year term.
Yeah, other than dictator of Syria or maybe dictator of Iran, they may come out to 8-year terms. Okay, how's that?
Yeah. Saddam Hussein was there for a while.
Yeah, hey, you could be a dictator, but we know you. We know you're a good guy. Ali Younes joined us. Ali, I was just congratulating Dennis Denno for winning at statewide office at Michigan State University. And I think he's the third or fourth. We're not sure, but it could be the fourth only Arab American to win a statewide office in Michigan. It's a big deal. What do you think, Ali?
Congratulations, Denno.
Than't you very much.
Maybe Ali, we should do a story on Dennis now and focus on it, because that is a big deal, statewide office. Your parents are immigrants from Iraq, you had mentioned, right?
Yeah, Arab Americans, they left Iraq. My dad left in 47. My mom left in 62. And it's great. They're really proud of me. I love my parents. I'm proud of them. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them standing on their shoulders. So it's great.
Wow, your
That's
parents
phenomenal.
Your dad left Iraq during the monarchy. Then.
That's right. And my dad turned 100 years old this year, and he's still doing great.
That's great.
Wow, that's phenomenal. That's the nice thing about a lot of Arabs live to ripe old ages, which is good to hear that.
Yeah, man, he's still he beat me in backgammon last week, so he's still mentally sharp.
Yeah, that has to do with the Arabian food, the olive oil, the extra virgin olive oil, and that Arab music, the Debka and Aladel Ona music that we have that just keeps us bright and jumping on our feet until even in the hundreds, the 90s and the hundreds. Ali, you're going to get up there too. You look like you're going to. You look like
Well,
you're. Well, actually, Ali looks like he's in his 40s, and you too.
look,
You too, Dennis.
I have a theory, when it comes to food, because, Mediterranean food is very popular now in the United States. But in the
Yes.
Arab world, I go back and forth, over the years, I reporting trips, but I see the Arab world is more going toward junk food revolution because,
Yeah.
America is very attractive.
Yeah.
You see a
The
lot
only
of
way you're gonna.
you see a lot of McDonald's, a lot of KFC, Domino's Pizza, Subways. All this processed, greasy food is making huge inroads into the Arab culture.
And
Displacing
our
the
arteries and into our arteries too. The only way you're going to get McDonald's and all those fast food restaurants out of a country is when they invade Ukraine and then we boycott them and then we shut them all down because Russia now is going to be a much healthier country without all that crappy fast food that we sent over there. So
that's correct.
You guys are making me
let's
hungry.
start. Yeah, me too. Let's start out with the elections. Let's start out with Dennis. Aside from your election, again, which, and for those that are just tuning in, Dennis Denno, pollster and consultant, he won election as trustee to the Michigan State University. It's a statewide office, one of maybe four. He may be the fourth Arab American to actually do that statewide, which is huge because I don't know of too many Arabs that have won any Arabs actually in the country when you think about it, other than some senators. I think we had 5 U.S. senators. So you're not a U.S. senator, but you never know, Dennis, you could be. But running statewide is a big deal. But tell us, in your mind, in these other races in Michigan and maybe across the country, any of them stand out for Arabs and Muslims?
We, in the Michigan House of Representatives here, the Democrats took control of the House for the first time since 2010. And our majority floor leader is he's Yemeni American, and he's Muslim American. It'll be the first time a Muslim American has had a position that high up in the Michigan legislature. And obviously he's Arab American too, which is pretty exciting. Here in Michigan, Democrats just want everything up and down the ticket. It was a real bloodbath for the Republicans. And we also passed Proposal 3, which enshrined abortion rights and healthcare for women in the Michigan Constitution. And I want to give a shout out to my wife, Raina, who was working on that campaign.
That's phenomenal. And Ali, what about you? I did a story about, and I'll tell you what, it's hard to track Arab and Muslim candidates in the United States, in part because our media outside of this station, which is, the voice of Arab Americans, I feel, in Michigan, it's hard to get information on our community because we have a terrible Arab media and Muslim media in the U.S. And I know, Ali, you discovered one that I didn't even know about. Tell us about that one race, I think, in Atlanta.
Yeah.
There was an Arab American that ran there.
Yeah, I've written the story on Palestinian American. She's 29-year-old. Her name is Ruwa Roman. She just won in Georgia state legislature. She will be the first Palestinian American to win an office, to be in representatives in Georgia General Assembly, and she ran a good progressive campaign against a MAGA Republican, who actually she told me, he used Islamophobic tactics. He called her, sent the flyers to the communities that she's affiliated with his terrorist groups. But surprisingly, she told me last night that the communities in her district supported her, protected her, Even the conservatives
Good.
group in her district supported her, and she's wearing a hijab, and she won. And she won by almost 60% of the vote there. So she'll be
So that
the first Palestinian American in the House of Representatives in Georgia, and the first Muslim American in the House of Representatives of Georgia. And Georgia, I think, outside Michigan, is fielding 4 Muslim Americans in the General Assembly, 2 state senators and 2 representatives in Georgia State Assembly. And that's big for Georgia.
Yeah, it is. And again, it's like the problem is that they don't think in terms of promoting and publicizing themselves outside, because these are big motivators to Arab and Muslim Americans around the country. And that racism backfires. I remember when I left the Chicago Sun-Times, I'd covered City Hall 18 years, and I left in 1992. I ran for office to see what it was like to run. Yeah, so I ran for state rep, and at the time, Clem Balanoff and his mother Miriam Balanoff were the only 2 Arabs. They were Syrian Jews. I still consider them Arabs. They're Arabs. They're from Syria. They're Jewish, and we don't discriminate between Christian Muslims and Jews. They were the first 2 legislators in Illinois to hold office. And I thought, okay, I don't want to be a legislator, but I need to figure out what it's like, if I'm going to be a consultant for politicians. And the first thing my opponent did was, remember, 1992, we just come out of the Iraq War. There were flyers that were being mailed to every voter that said, Ray Hanania isn't just a Palestinian, he's an Iraqi. Don't vote for him. Don't vote for the Saddam Hussein supporter. It was all over the district. And no offense, Dennis, I was proud to be Iraqi, but I'm not Iraqi. It isn't enough just to call me Palestinian. But at that time, that racism really had an impact. But it's good to hear that today it doesn't. Dennis, you think racism against Arabs and Muslims is still a campaign factor? And you think we'll ever get beyond that, where people look just at who we are? Did you feel it in your election at all?
No, not at all. Yeah, my race, I mean, it's statewide and it's so bottom of the ballot. It was all about top of the ticket and turnout. I think Michigan's a little different. I think we've kind of, as far as Arab American and Muslim American, I think we've kind of gone beyond that, in the sense of there's going to be a huge backlash if you do that. I mean, look, racism is still a huge issue in this country. Ask African Americans, right? Ask Hispanic Americans, right? So I do think race still plays a factor in American politics, but maybe a little less than 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah, that it would be a factor. Ali, you think we'll ever get past racism in elections? It's a weapon, regardless of who you are. If you're Black, there'll be some racism. If you're Hispanic, if you're Jewish, there'll be some anti-Semitism. If you're Arab and Muslim,
I think it'll still be there. But I would like support what Dennis said, or add to what he said. It's a state by state. In Michigan, it's very difficult to do that, and so. But it's a state by state, district by district. It depends on the race and the office. The minority person is trying to win. The woman who won in Georgia, Roman, told me last night that she thinks, because the Islamophobic and the racist taxes did not work, she thinks that Islamophobia, at least in her case, is going out of style, because nobody believed what the opponent have said or alleged that she is that affiliated with terrorism. Of course, a false charge and slanderous in of itself. And she thinks, because now in a lot of states in America, especially perhaps in the conservative South, that there is maybe anti-trans, anti-LGBT individuals. So there's a lot of victims, or a lot of targets have been displacing Muslims and Arabs nowadays, and 20 years maybe or more after September 11 attacks. So, like I said, I think it'll still be there, but it depends on a case-by-case situation, not necessarily across the board. Like in 1992, what you said, they called you Iraqi. Now, if you're an Arab American, they will call you, okay, who do we hate now?
Iranian. They'll start calling you Iranian.
Or they call you
Americans
Russian.
don't know the difference.
Yeah, I will call you a Russian sympathizer or something, so
Yeah,
it depends.
Dennis.
Yeah.
Dennis, you had a point you wanted to make too.
Yeah, I think something that is kind of point I want to make with my race, where people didn't really know the candidates for these education positions are so bottom of the ballot. And I can't prove this theory, but I think that if my name is very American sounding. My name is very Denno. People thought it's Italian, right? I mean, if I had a quote unquote Arab last name, if my first name was something like, no offense to anyone named Muhammad, but if my first name was Muhammad, I think that would have sunk me, and then when you're running for something like state rep, which is a smaller district where you can literally knock every door, or hopefully you're knocking every door, and you're in the community, you've built roots in the community, people get to know you. And if your name is Muhammad, they can realize, well, yeah, you're not a terrorist, you're a really good guy. You got kids in our schools. You help clean up the park every year, stuff like that. So I think we've gotten as a community beyond that, which is good.
Yeah, I agree with you. The less your name, still, if your name comes across too strong as Muslim or Arab, and that I guess applies in every race or religion, there's always going to be a racial factor. But we want to get ours down from 60% to the norm, which is about 20%, I think. People vote based on race and religion. Go ahead, Ali.
Yeah, I think, but I agree with Dennis, who said with the name Muhammad. And if you are in a narrower district, state district, people know you, and the people that I've talked to who won elections in, for example, in Iowa, I talked to Sammy Sheets, whose mother is from Syria, an immigrant from Syria. And he's been active and community organizer. The community know him. He also won by 60% of the vote. And he worked for Bernie Sanders' campaign, worked at the State Department. He speaks Arabic. So Arabs are not shy of their identity. When they run for office, women who wore a hijab. We saw the case of Nabila Sayed in Chicago suburbs. She's 23 years old, and she won a seat at the Illinois General Assembly. 23, and she's wearing a hijab.
That was a big deal. We're going to take a quick break. I think if my name, if I had a real Arab name like Jesus, I think that would be positive, right? I could get a positive vote off of that. All right, We're going to take a break. I'm Ray Hanania. You're listening to Radio Baladi on WNZK AM 690. It's November 11th. Happy Veterans Day to everybody out there. We appreciate all your service. And I'm speaking with two great friends and political analysts and pollsters, Dennis Denno, who just was elected to the Michigan State University as a trustee statewide in Michigan. It's a big deal. And Ali Younes, a writer with Arab News newspaper with me, one of my colleagues. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about more of these races, Sheets, and also Abdul Nasser Rashid, who unseated a Democrat, a 7-term Democrat in the Democratic primary, and then went on to win the state legislative seat in Illinois, making him the third Arab American, if you need to count the Balanoffs, Miriam Balanoff and Clem Balanoff, who were Syrian Jews who won those seats in the legislature in the past. I'm Ray Hanania. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk with our guest, Dennis Denno, and Ali Younes. We'll be right back right after these messages.
Our noses can sniff out all kinds of things, good things and bad things. Your nose knows if those sniffles are just a cold, allergies, or COVID-19. So if you want to be sure, swab and test your nose for answers. It's good to know. Find testing information and resources at michigan.gov/COVID test. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Ziyad brand. Quality products from our family to yours. Ziyad Brothers Importing offers the finest quality products, including brands like Sultan, Kraft, Nestle, Hook, Rico Picon, Donna, and many more. Ask your retailer to carry these fine products because you deserve the very best. For more information, visit our website at www.ziyad.com. That's www.ziyad.com. Ziyad, quality products from our family to yours.
Are you going to start a restaurant or a grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Najee Abood at 734-744-9796. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Najee Abood now, 734-744-9796. New Concept Products and Design, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. New Concept Products and Design, new location, 31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia. Learn more at www.newconceptproducts.com. Call Najee Abood, 734-744-9796.
Are your hands feeling numb? Do you feel pain opening up a jar, turning a key? Are you noticing that your elbow and your shoulder are becoming stiff? Or were you recently injured in your arm? Hello, I'm Dr. Albanjit Katranji, and at the Katranji Hand Center, which just recently opened down the street from the Somerset Mall, we can provide you with the latest in hand, wrist, elbow, and shoulder care. Visit us at www.katranjihandcenter.com to learn the latest techniques that we have to offer you, and I look forward to taking care of you.
Visit us in Troy at 1565 West Big Beaver Road, Building F, or call Katranji Hand Center for an appointment at 248-869-4263. That's 248-869-4263.
And we're back here at Radio Baladi. I'm Ray Hanania. We can take some calls if you want at 248-557-3300. Of course, we have one of our super fans, Jerry Haba. I'm going to have to make him a panelist on here because Jerry loves to listen to the radio. Jerry, welcome to the radio show, and thank you for listening to us.
Thank you, Mr. Ray Hanania, for taking my call, and I appreciate your golden words. If they are not diamond, they are gold and silver, and I appreciate you. Thank you, Mr.
You're welcome, buddy.
Good morning to your guest, Mr.
Dennis Denno, statewide. Dennis Denno won statewide, Jerry.
To you, Mr. Dennis, we are proud of you that you won this election at Michigan State. We appreciate you, and God bless you to serve the community. And we are proud of you because you represent all of us from the Middle East. Thank you for your victory. And good morning to our Al-Mukhadram, Mr. Ali Younes, the politician. Good morning and happy Veteran Day. And Ray, happy Veteran Day to you because you are a veteran.
Thank you. Yes, I am.
God bless you.
Yes, I am. A lot of Arabs, a lot of Arab Americans.
Thank you. My question is about the election, and you know how some people, they call it the blue wave victory in the state of Michigan. And you know, for the first time, gentlemen, since the 1980-84, the first time Democrats control the state Senate in Lansing. I do believe, and with them to renew the victory on the three positions as a governor, as an attorney general, as a secretary of state, yes, of course, is a victory. Gentlemen, my question is, and I would appreciate it because it bothered me too much. As an American from Middle East, I'm proud. I see our people during the election and before the election, especially in the great Dearborn area, which consider the Mecca of Arab outside the Middle East. We came from conservative society. We are against the abortion, an example, but I see our leader in the community push for Proposal 3, which was encourage the abortion to be legal in Michigan. Gentlemen, don't you think our people, they play, I don't try to say hypocrites, but they say something at the place of God, if it is mosque or church, and they are against killing innocent babies. But in the meantime, they are supporting official who they run for the office, and they support abortion and killing those babies. Yes, exclude
All right.
a woman's life in danger. I understand. When a baby's life in danger, I understand. But I would love to hear an answer from you, gentlemen. Thank you very much for taking my call. Thank you, Mr. Ray Hanania. Again.
Thanks, Jerry. We appreciate that call. I'd say real quick, and then I'll ask Dennis and our guest, Ali, what they think. But I would say that sometimes people in politics focus on the party and the politics rather than the issues. And they use the issues and they see the issues as a way to build up their party. So a lot of Democrats I know were using abortion, and in the Arab community, as you say, they're very conservative, I believe, on some issues, but they've rallied around the Democratic Party because of Trump and the far right, targeting Muslims and Arabs. What do you think, Dennis, on that issue?
Well, I actually know a lot about that issue. I volunteered for it almost every single day. My wife, like I said, was one of the regional organizers for Proposal 3. I personally, I think it's a little offensive when they talk about killing babies. It's not killing. Abortion isn't killing babies. And I think on the flip side of it, two things. One, I mean, the ban on abortion was so extreme that if a 14-year-old got raped by her uncle, by her dad, she would have to go through with that pregnancy. If a woman was, if her life was in danger due to an abortion, she would have to go through with it and potentially die because of it. We had county prosecutors talk about prosecuting doctors and nurses for abortion procedures, which to me is completely outrageous. And look, I mean, I know a lot of Arab Americans, I know a lot of Muslim Americans who are not anti-abortion, who in their faith and their beliefs don't have the problem with it.
Well, of course, we're men talking about a woman's, right to choose. So, but given that, I mean, I think part of the problem was the abortion issue was either one end or the other. There was no middle ground. I'm against abortion as a form of birth control. I think it's wrong, but I do agree that abortion should be allowed during the first trimester in the case of incest and rape, or if the life of the mother is in jeopardy. I think that's reasonable, but we didn't hear a reasonable debate. From the left, we heard all abortion. From the right, we heard no abortion. There were very few voices in the middle. What do you think, Ali?
Well, I think in Islam, and I don't speak for Islam, but as far as I know, abortion is illegal to start with as a foundational principle. There, abortion is banned. However, I think for most Muslim and Arab societies overseas, they consider cases like incest or jeopardizing the woman's life. However, in the U.S., the issue of abortion is complicated for the Arab community because what our friend Jerry said, coming from conservative societies, and you see, Democratic politicians here, Arab Americans, supporting the Democratic position, across the board, and the Republican Arab Americans supporting the Republican position across the board. I think there is a dilemma right there, because Arab Americans coming from conservative societies, and they are themselves socially conservative, it's very hard to be accepted by the Republicans as conservatives, because the Republicans base their conservatism on values that are different than the conservatism of the Arab and Muslim communities, especially on the social level. Because from a political point of view, Arabs might not find Republicans to their liking from a political point of view. So you like me socially, but I am not welcome politically because the Republicans are on the right and perhaps far right of the Arab issues. Whereas on the Democratic side, the Democrats welcome the Arab position on abortion, but they're not necessarily also the two on the left side of the Arab and Muslim communities. So it's sort of like a conflicting dilemma there for Muslim and Arab voters.
Yeah, I was going to say that also, the issue of gay rights in the LGBTQ community, that's another issue in the Arab and Muslim community. And even as a Christian, they teach me that, it's wrong. However, there is a middle ground where you can respect somebody who's gay, you can respect somebody who's transgender, you can respect the LGBT community. I don't think it's the right lifestyle, but I'm not going to use that feeling to judge those people who want to do it. There is a middle ground in all this. Dennis, is there a middle ground in abortion, or is it, I mean, I don't want to mischaracterize your views, but is it abortion across the board, or is there limits to abortion?
I think this is a great question. I think this election cycle showed that women in America don't appreciate men telling them what to do with their bodies. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Okay. All right. And then we got to take another break at 7:30 or 8:30 Detroit time, 7:30 for me. I'm in Chicago. We have two great guests, Dennis Denno, who just won a seat on the Michigan State University board as a trustee and a longtime consultant and pollster. And we also have Ali Younes, a writer and reporter, my colleague at Arab News. We're looking at the Arabs and Muslims who won election and some of the issues that they face. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back right after these messages.
When you're looking for the best in optical care, Dr. Imad Nakash is your doctor to see. With years of experience and thousands of successful procedures performed, you can trust your eyes to Dr. Imad Nakash. See Dr. Imad Nakash and his professional staff for your eye care needs. There's 2 locations to serve you. In Hazel Park, call 248-336-3937. 248-336-3937. In Rochester Hills, call 248-299-3937. That's 248-299-3937.
Get ready for an amazing experience at Ishtar Restaurant on 15 Mile Road in Sterling Heights. Enjoy excellent hospitality from owners Ali Al-Baghdadi and Fatty Bonham, serving the best in Mediterranean food. Try Chef Ali Al-Baghdadi's famous shawarma, the best Iraqi grills and food, and the best Arabic and international dishes. Dine in our authentic atmosphere or take out. Call 586-698-2585 or check us out on Facebook. Ishtar Restaurant practices all CDC guidelines and is open every day, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Have an amazing experience today at Ishtar Restaurant, 3625 15 Mile Road, Sterling Heights. At Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic in Dearborn, we provide effective physical therapy sessions in order to limit pain and discomfort. Top Rehab provides physical therapy care for any diagnosis prescribed by a physician, and we regularly see and treat conditions such as stroke, TMJ, fibromyalgia, sciatica, joint pain, and more. We use a variety of pain management methods, including modalities, soft tissue mobilization, and therapeutic exercise. If you're in need of physical rehabilitation or physical therapy, get the highest quality health care at Top Rehab. Most insurance is accepted, and we're open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday 8 to 6, Tuesday and Thursday 8 to 5, and Saturday 10 till 2. Call for an appointment today at 313-846-0555. That's 313-846-0555. Choose Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic on Michigan Avenue in Dearborn. Life's too short to be in pain.
And welcome back to Radio Baladi. I'm Ray Hanania here with two great guests, Dennis Denno and Ali Younes. Dennis, how did that Proposition 3 turn out in Michigan and in Dearborn, especially where there's the greater Dearborn region, where there's a large Arab population, Middle East population?
Yeah, so Proposal 3, which would allow abortion rights and medical health care rights for women in the Michigan Constitution. The yes side, which was the pro-choice side, won overwhelmingly in Dearborn, 59% to 41%, at least that's according to the Dearborn clerk. So our community was very supportive of abortion rights.
Okay. And I was just going to point out that, I was looking at some of the data. The Council on American Islamic Relations, CARE, and Jetpack Resource Center issued a report recently that noted before the November 8th elections that there were 145 Muslim Americans who were competing in election contests on Tuesday, the midterm elections in the U.S., and there were 29 American Muslims who served as state legislators in 18 states. 29 American Muslims. Now, I'm going to guess most of those are probably not Arab, But it's interesting to see, those numbers. And again, we don't have a great communications network. So sometimes it's hard to hear from these people in many of the other states. So some of the other one of the big national ones, let's turn to the national elections, if you guys don't mind. We had that race, Fetterman versus Mehmet Oz, a Muslim from Turkey. And I don't know, I just, I know that his religion, I don't think played a big role in this for Oz, but he failed to win Pennsylvania's U.S. Senate race. He would have been the first Muslim senator, in the United States. I think we've had 5 Arab American senators, all Lebanese. And I think one of them, John Sununu, was part Lebanese and Palestinian. But of Spencer Abraham, James Abnur, George Mitchell, and James Abarazik, all Lebanese. But he would have been the first Muslim, and that never happened. How do you guys think people looked at the Mehmet Oz versus the Fetterman election in Pennsylvania? Was it important to them, or was it just totally politics?
I think when it comes to Mehmet Oz campaign in Pennsylvania, I think it's more the Republicans and Donald Trump factor. Mehmet Oz's issue of being a Muslim, I don't think it was a factor, because, Trump in choosing Mehmet Oz obviously did not choose him because he is not a Muslim. I tell you a short story about being Muslim. In 2012, I asked Newt Gingrich when he was running for president on a campaign trail, because he was saying about the fair play of Americans of all backgrounds. I'm a historian and all that stuff. So I asked him if he would support a Muslim American running for president, and he immediately said yes. And he invoked the name of a Muslim American in Arizona who is really anti-Muslim community and anti-Palestinian and pro-Israel. So that version of a Muslim, that version of a Muslim is accepted in certain quarters of the ultra-conservative Republicans, not necessarily just mainstream Muslim, but you have to be of a certain qualification to be accepted.
I don't think Oz was anti-Muslim. A lot of times that's characterized that if you're a Republican and Muslim, they say, well, you must be anti-Muslim. I don't agree with that. I think that's just the politics of it. And I also don't agree that I know that people say that, President Trump banned all Muslims. The truth is he didn't ban all Muslims. He only banned Muslims who were coming from 6 failed states like Syria or terrorist states like Iran from coming into the U.S. There are 50 countries that are Muslim, and 44 of those countries, Muslims from 44 of those countries, were allowed to come into the United States under Trump. And I'm not defending Trump. I'm just saying that sometimes the politics of Democrats and Republicans gets in the way of the facts and the issues sometimes. So we really don't get to talk about the issue. We only talk about, the fear mongering that is pushed out there sometimes, I think. Dennis, what do you think of that Oz Fetterman race?
I didn't follow it that closely. I was so neck deep in Michigan politics. I think you're both all right that Mehmet Oz wasn't seen as the Muslim candidate. He was seen as the Republican candidate or the Trump endorsed Republican candidate. Mehmet Oz let's face it, Mehmet Oz made more mistakes on the campaign trail than Fetterman. Pennsylvania is a Democratic leaning state, which helped Fetterman, and in the end it worked out for him. And don't forget, they if I'm not mistaken, Pennsylvania elected a Jewish American guy as their governor, which is great.
Yeah, and in Minnesota, there was a real, at least in the early polls, which just shows you can't trust the media. Only one pollster I trust is Dennis Denno, but outside of that, I don't think you can trust him. They said Keith Ellison was going to lose his office as Attorney General. They said that he was going to trail Republican Jim Schultz. He ended up winning by a narrow vote. I think he had a 20,000 vote lead out of 2.5 million votes cast as a Muslim Attorney General. But let's talk about that. What happened to the Republicans? Because statewide, not about Arab Americans, but nationally. What happened to the Republicans? Because there was this big projection, midterm elections, whoever's outside of doesn't control the White House usually sweeps the House and wins the Senate. But that Republican surge that everybody predicted kind of fell flat. They're going to win the House, but we have to wait until December, I think, for that special election in Georgia to see if the Senate is going to turn Republican by one vote. What do you guys think, Ali?
Well, there are many factors for the Republican not performing as the pundits or as expected, as a red wave, as history have told us since 1978, that the president's party often lose. It happened with Obama, it happened with Clinton, and it happened with other presidents since the late 70s and 80s. But I think Donald Trump position in the election and the insurgents and the attack in the Capitol and his backed candidates always sometimes seen as too extreme for the liking of many voters. So it was a mixed bag for them. A lot of them have won, but a lot of them have lost as well. And not necessarily, Mehmet Oz is a great example of that. And Herschel Walker in Georgia is still, the jury's out on that. And not many congressional races have performed to the liking of Donald Trump. And Ron DeSantis won victory in Florida. That speaks volumes,
against
victory.
the Lebanese, against a half Lebanese American, by the way,
Yeah.
Chris.
Yeah, Charlie Crist.
Yeah.
Yes. But Ron DeSantis is not necessarily a friendly term with Trump, and Trump has tweeted against him and so many times because he sees him as a future threat for the presidential run in 2024. So I think part of it is Trump involvement in the elections and the performance of the Democratic Party. And we saw President Obama, President Biden go to Pennsylvania to campaign for John Fetterman. And that is critical, to flipping the state. So, it's a mixed, the performance of the Democratic Party. And also don't forget about the issues. In some cases, the issues was abortion. Some cases the issue is inflation. But all that played out in a huge, country that many voters see the issues different, depends on their locality and depends on their state.
Yeah, Chris, Charlie Chris, he's Greek and Lebanese parents. He lost to DeSantis, but he got 40% of the vote, 3.1 million votes out of in Florida out of 7.75 million that was cast. So he's pretty popular, but he still couldn't beat DeSantis, who I agree with you, Ali. He is the guy that I think is a much more moderate voice than Donald Trump. And I think Trump says he's going to announce something big on Tuesday. And I think he's going to announce for president. And I think that's a mistake because I don't think Trump really, this election shows that Trump's influence he has some influence, but it's not as strong and not ironclad as many people thought. Dennis, what do you think of Trump's role in the national election?
No, I agree with Ali. I agree with you, Ray. Look, Donald Trump won the presidency in 2016, and he's been a disaster for the Republicans ever since. I want to give a shout out to President Joe Biden. He's accomplished a lot in his first 2 years. Inflation Reduction Act, the CHIPS Act. If you're in an industrial state, you need computer chips to build anything. And it's a huge problem. You drive around my community in Lansing and you got lots full of vehicles that can't be assembled because they don't have those microchips. And now we're going to hopefully be getting those factories built here in Michigan. He's protecting veterans. We're fixing our infrastructure. He's got a lot of funding set aside for infrastructure to be rebuilt in our country. This is a pretty big win for him. And let's face it, the Democratic Party message this year was abortion, which is healthcare. And Republican messaging was inflation, which is justifiable, crime, which, whatever. That obviously didn't sell. And their messaging was also Donald Trump, and that just didn't sell.
Yeah, listen, I don't agree so much with you about Biden. I'm more of a conservative Democrat here in Illinois. Most of us were Republican, but Illinois became Democratic. So there is no real Republican voice in Illinois. The Republicans, the only ones out there, are so far right. They're extremists. They're nuts. You don't want to even identify with them. There's some good Republicans, but most conservative Democrats, they're still very critical of. They voted for Trump, but they're very critical of Biden. And inflation is at its worst that it's ever been, and our crime, at least in Illinois, is the worst it's ever been. It's terrible. It's dangerous out there. So I think you're right. I think it depends on where you're at, what state you're in. In Michigan, I think Biden did very well. He's a big calling card. In Illinois, I'm not quite sure that people are driven by him. It's just that the Democrats control the state so strongly. It's hard to find a good alternative. Ali, any thoughts on all that?
Well, the blue states, the Democratic states will remain Democratic states. It's the battle really over Pennsylvania, over Florida, all the states, or Wisconsin, all the states
Michigan.
that either North Carolina, Michigan, the states it could go either way. That's where the real battle is, and depends on the real issues in those battleground states. I think where the Republicans could win the presidency or Congress, or the Democrat win. And a clear case in point is Florida. Florida has total different issues than many other. It has inflation issue, crime issue, and gun control issue. Texas is a Republican state, so gun control is big thing there for the Democrats. And we saw for the Abbott versus Beto O'Rourke. Beto O'Rourke, won the border regions of Texas as a Democratic, El Paso, and he held a statewide office there as well. But you see, all Texas is solid red, with the exception of the border with Mexico. Most of the South is Republican, regardless of the issue. See, because of the Republican values and conservatism for the voters in the South. But Georgia is a flip state, as a state that really could be flipped, as it has in 2 years ago. So I think if you bring the people out to vote, and if the Democrats could big cities in Atlanta and big metropolises in the country tend to be Democratic because of the higher education level. People are more employed. They have a higher income status, so they tend to vote Democrat versus rural, older population. And you see that in the Midwest, in South Dakota, or all this big chunk of America that is basically empty of major metropolises. You see where the Republicans perform well. I think this is the situation we have to.
All right, we got to take one last break, and maybe in the last segment, let's talk about who we think. Is it going to really come down to Trump and Biden, or do you think there are going to be alternatives for Democrats or Republicans? And again, before we go on break, I just want to give a shout out to Abdel Nasser Rashid. He took out a 7-term incumbent Democrat who I think took the election for granted. Abdel Nasser Rashid did run for a county board seat against a crazy Republican who won by only 1,300 votes. And then he came back, and Abdel Nasser Rashid, I think, was smart. He's really kind of a centrist. He partnered in coalitions with Democrats across the board. He appealed to conservative Democrats, and he won that race. And I think that in Illinois, Abdel Nasser Rashid has a great future. I could see him becoming a congressman and even a U.S. senator, much in the way Barack Obama rose up from the state house when he was there. I'm Ray Hanania. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk with Dennis Denno and Ali Younes about what to expect in the presidential election, who the candidates are going to be. Is it going to be Biden and Trump, or are there alternatives, Joe Manchin, DeSantis, or whoever? I'm Ray Hanania. We'll be right back right after these messages.
When it comes to reproductive medicine, IVF Michigan fertility centers are the recognized leaders. With locations in Bloomfield Hills and 5 other cities in Michigan and Ohio, IVF has experts in all aspects of the field. As a founding member of IVF Michigan Fertility Centers, Dr. Nicholas Shama is one of the leading reproductive endocrinologists in Michigan and Ohio. Dr. Shama has performed over 10,000 IVF cases and has helped thousands of couples fulfill their dreams of parenthood. American board certified in both obstetrics and gynecology and reproductive endocrinology and infertility, Dr. Nicholas Shama is a very caring, compassionate, expert physician that understands not only the medical but also the emotional toil of infertility on his patients. When it's time, get personalized care from Dr. Nicholas Shama at IVF Michigan Fertility Centers in Michigan and Ohio. Call toll-free 855-952-9600, 855-952-9600. Life is a nonprofit charity that's provided humanitarian aid and development to people and communities for over 25 years, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. When disaster occurs here or around the world, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. Please help improve these efforts. Make your tax-deductible donation to Life now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493. Kashat's Mediterranean Market in Shish Kebab offers a great array of your favorite Mediterranean meals. Meals range from lamb specialties, shawarma sandwiches, and seafood dinners. Plus, they offer big trays of your favorite food and so much more. Kashat's Mediterranean Market in Shish Kebab is located at 32839 Northwestern Highway in Farmington Hills and is open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So stop in or call Kashat's today at 248-538-9552. That number again, 248-538-9552. Kashat's Mediterranean Market in Shish Kebab will definitely leave you satisfied.
And we're back here at WNZK AM 690 Radio. And let me turn it over to Ali and Dennis. Either one of you want to start out on what do you think is going to happen in the presidential race as a result of this kind of mixed turnout between Republicans and Democrats? It doesn't look like either really controlled anything. What do you think, Dennis? You want to start?
Well, I think first off, Ray, no offense, I'm going to push back on that narrative. I think Democrats did very well Tuesday. I mean, considering that Democrats, considering that the party in power of the presidency normally has an epic fail, I think Democrats did well. I don't know about who's going to run for president in 2 years. My crystal ball isn't that clear. I assume Donald Trump is going to announce he's going to run again. His ego is going to won't allow him to not. I also think legally it helps him to, if he's a presidential candidate, it's going to be harder to prosecute him. I don't know. Does DeSantis go against him? He's got nothing to lose, right? Will they beat each other up so much that a third candidate who we're not even thinking of sneaks in? I don't know. I don't know the Republican Party as well. As far, Ray, as your friend Joe Biden, I think if the polling, I think if Joe Biden's looking at the polling and he thinks he can keep the presidency, he's no question he's going to run again, believe it or not. If he doesn't run again, I think there's no question the Michigan governor Gretchen Whitmer's looking at it. No question the governor of California is looking at it. And here's what I keep saying about Democratic presidential candidates. Nobody in 2008 thought a guy named Barack Hussein Obama was going to become president. In 1992, no one thought Bill Clinton from Arkansas was going to become president. And you know what? In 1976, no one thought Jimmy Carter, a one-term governor from Georgia and a peanut farmer, was going to become president. So the Democratic Party side, who knows?
Well, luck does play a lot in it because in Obama's case, he was running for Senate against a tough Republican named Jack Ryan. And had Jack Ryan stayed in the race, Obama would not have gone where he went. But Jack Ryan was embarrassed by a divorce. He withdrew, and the Republicans were stuck with this goofball. I can't even remember his name, and I don't even want to remember it, who represented the Republicans. And Obama just shot up from there. Ali, what do you think is going to happen in the presidential race, given what we saw in the last past week's midterm elections?
Well, I think that what we saw is critical. And I agree with Dennis that the Democrats have done very well considering the history.
Yeah.
Against them. They've done very well. I think it could be considered a victory for not being blown out in the U.S. Congress. But I think if Donald Trump nominated himself, announced that he'll run for office, I think the Republican Party will be divided because for sure Ron DeSantis is looking for a nomination, and he is conservative. He has conservative credentials, and he could be another Donald Trump with a smile on his face, would appeal to the Republican Party, Republicans, and would not be as offensive as Donald Trump, especially on issues of abortion, on issues of minorities, on issues of gun control. He supports all that. But also we might see other comes to play, like Mike Pompeo, former congressman from California and former Secretary of State and former CIA director. And Pompeo is very conservative, and he trimmed down. He is positioning himself as a Republican who might be at play, and who might see Ted Cruz. There's a lot of hatred between Ted Cruz and Donald Trump from the 2016 election. But remember, Mitch McConnell, the majority or the Republican in the Senate, the leader of Republicans in the Senate, who might be majority leader if they win, doesn't think highly of Donald Trump. And that is critical, because Trump could be seen as a divider within the Republican Party. So that might push a lot of moderate or mainstream Republicans away from Donald Trump and leave Trump stuck with the far right elements of the Republican Party and constituency across the board in the US.
Republicans didn't think Trump was a great candidate, but they found they had no choice. There are a lot of Republicans that didn't want to support him, and I have to be honest, as a conservative Democrat, I'm concerned about Joe Biden. I think a Democrat could step up to the plate in a primary and take him out and defeat him. I think he's vulnerable, but we'll see. Dennis, you get the final word in our last minute, if you have any other comments.
Yeah, I mean, I think you make a great point, Ray. Everybody's vulnerable. And I think the other thing with American politics these days is things change so rapidly from week to week. So, I mean, who knows? Who knows what the big issue is going to be in a few weeks, in a few months. It'll be a fascinating ride.
And Dennis, what's your website? And I'll ask Ali the same about his Twitter. What's your website, Dennis?
Yeah, thank you. It's denoresearch.com.
All right. And Ali, how do people follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter. I'm Ali, Ali_reports. And this is what I, tweet, comment a variety of issues.
All right. And I'm Ray Hanania. I want to thank our guests, Ali Younes and Dennis Denno. My website is hanania.com. I want to thank US Arab Radio Network for hosting us last week and this week to look at the elections. We'll see you again. And stay tuned, everybody. And again, thanks to our guests for helping us at least understand some parts of what happened this past Tuesday. I'm Ray Hanania. Have a great week, everybody. And happy Veterans Day again to all the veterans who served and who sacrificed their lives and who are serving. You have a great week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you, Ray.